right, welcome back to another edition of the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. This is the Week 4 recap, and I am Brad.
Zach.
And I'm Echo.
All right, let's jump right in, shall we? Let's start with the Jets and the Broncos. They were on Thursday night, and, did anyone care? No, I'm just kidding. I completely spaced this game, just to be honest, because I didn't care. But, I'm sure the Broncos cared, and Broncos fans and maybe a couple Jets fans did. Anyway, good for the Broncos. Losing sucks. I hope this is the first step in Fangio getting some things turned around in Denver, and this first win's crucial. What's funny is I don't know if you guys heard. Did you hear Vic Fangio's quote?
No, what'd he say?
He said, "Winning has cured more ills than penicillin." So he's happy about the win. But again, true to hater form, I guess I can't get the name Adam Gase out of my mouth. Look, New York was penalized 11 times, and 6 of those were personal fouls. And you both know how I feel about penalties. It's a sign of lack of discipline, and discipline is the sole responsibility of the head coach, and that is not debatable. It's not debatable. That's it. It's the coach's responsibility. The best coaches in history have built their organizations on discipline, and there are no exceptions to that. We can talk about old school coaches like Tom Landry and Chuck Noll and John Madden and Mike Ditka, all the way into the start of the modern era with Bill Walsh and Bill Cowher. Hand it off to Mike Tomlin, Bill Parcells, Marty Schottenheimer, Andy Reid, and the ultimate disciplinarian himself, Bill Belichick. So, can you imagine? I want you to imagine for a second that what the Patriots practice would be like if they'd had 11 penalties and over half of them were personal fouls. I can't even. I would retire. I don't know that I could put up with it. It'd be like hell in boot camp or something. I want to say I don't know what's going on in New York. I know exactly what's going on in New York. I'm going to say it one more time. I'll probably say it again, but I'm going to say it at least one more time. Gase has got to go. This is not getting any better. At least there's now talk about whether he's going to be fired. I know that hasn't really been a thing, and Jeff, you have an opinion on that. But Gase has got to go.
Yeah. So my notes on this game aren't spectacular. Brett Ripon, is that how you say his last name?
Yes.
He's a third-string quarterback. Came out 2 touchdown passes, got the win.
Nephew of 1992 Super Bowl MVP Mark Rypien.
Oh, nice.
Just another useless trivial that won't get you anything.
So, yeah, he came in, 2 touchdown passes, got the win. You can't ask for more than that with a third-string quarterback. So, hats off to him.
Yeah.
And the only thing I have to say for the Jets is they are a terrible team. And, yes, Adam Gase needs fired. We've been calling for it since the summer. He needs to go.
Yeah, and I thought Adam Gase's replacement could be Greg Williams, but after all those personal fouls, Greg Williams coming under fire this week because he was responsible for the Bounty Gate that happened in New Orleans a few years back when they played Brett Favre and all that, and with all the personal fouls, they were bringing that up again, and I could see it. They were gunning for the quarterback. They were taking cheap shots all day. But besides the coaching thing, this is really the perfect game for a team with so many injuries that really didn't have a whole lot of expectations anyways. But there's a lot of young guys. This was a good confidence building game. Rypien almost let the Jets back in, and he had 3 interceptions in this one. But ultimately, they were able to put away the worst team in the league.
Yeah. So here's another little fun fact to go along with the 3 interceptions. He's the first quarterback to win his first start, despite having 3 interceptions, since San Francisco's Jim Druckenmiller beat the St. Louis Rams in 1997. So there you go.
No way that's a real name. Jim Druckenmiller?
Oh, yeah. It is. I remember Jim Druckenmiller. I think he was only in San Francisco a couple of years. I don't think it lasted very long.
You have a Miller Lite sponsorship?
I should have.
Yeah, he should have.
It's actually Druckenmiller, Druck, Druckenmiller. I mispronounced it. But anyway, so Rippion's breaking records already.
I don't know if that's the kind you want to be breaking.
Hey man, you take what you can get. If you can get your name in the news, that's a start, right?
Yep, got to start somewhere.
All right, let's move on to the next barn burner.
Do you want me to hop in with the Pick'em update?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so we record this on Monday. We put it out on Tuesday, so there's still 2 games to go tonight left on this week. But as it stands right now, Hefe is still in first place with a total of 44 correct picks. And Brad, you and I are number 2 with 42.
Okay.
Willie on the west side, Ricky Entry are tied at 41 for 4th place, and it goes down from there.
Okay. Well, I had to take the Texans. We talked about that in the preview, and they killed me. But we'll talk about that here in a minute. Oh,
yeah. Zach would have been able to gain some ground on me. I missed 4 this week, and if Zach didn't take one for the team and pick the Bears, he would have gained ground on me this week.
Hey, I had to do it, man. Colts had to get that win.
Yeah, it worked. We're all happy. So, way to take one for the team. All right, another barn burner. Jags at the Bengals. I really just have only 2 things to say about this game. The first one is the Jags are bad. They're real bad. And 2, Joe Burrow is silencing his critics right now so far.
Yeah, I agree. I nailed this one with the pick. I had Cincinnati winning it. Joe Burrow is very impressive. Still, we say this every single week, but he had a 300-yard game, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He did receive quite a bit of help from Joe Mixon this week. Mixon had 25 carries, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, and since he got it done for the first one of the season.
Yeah, I was happy to see a lot of Joe Mixon in this one. I mentioned a couple weeks ago you pay a guy and then you don't use him, and it didn't make sense. And I thought it was the right thing to do, even though Joe Burrow still threw the ball 36 times in this game. They were able to get Mixon going with 25 carries, and it really showed. You get this guy going, good things can happen. Now, granted, they were playing the Jags. The Jags defense is getting figured out, and they're looking worse every week going forward. So kind of temper expectations going forward. Maybe it doesn't work the same, but I think the game script was perfect. It was the way that it should go in the future. Try to get your main guys, the stars of the team. You want to get them rolling, and they did a good job of that in this game. And hopefully, Zach Taylor takes advantage of that going forward.
Yeah, agreed. So, Hefe, are you? Is this a turnaround for the Bengals?
I don't know. They have a pretty tough schedule, yeah, and they're in a tough division. Yeah. But I think they're gonna do. I think in the predictions we did before the season, I think I had them 0-16. I wasn't sure what to expect from Joe Burrow and the rest of that team, but it seems like they're getting better every week. So there's some optimism there.
Yeah, and I like what Joe Burrow's doing. And with what he's showing this early, if they can get everything together and really build something around him, then Cincinnati may have a team in the future. We'll see.
Yep.
All right. Browns at the Cowboys. And you know what I hate? Let me tell you. I hate when you feel something in your gut. I mean, you really, really feel it, and your head says, "Don't be stupid." That was my Joe Rush impression. Big shout out to Big Joe. Miss that guy. Anyway, Hefe, you and I talked about this. We both said this felt like an upset coming. The Cowboys are lost in a shitstorm of mediocrity at best. I mean, I think that's a compliment, to be honest. But I thought there's no way they're going to let the Browns come. My head was like, there's no way they're going to let the Browns come down there and dance and stomp all over that star. And was I wrong. I should have gone with my gut instinct and not talked myself out of it.
Yeah, I felt it, the whole week. Even in our fantasy show, I said, start Beckham because it feels like he's going to have a huge game. And the thing with the Cowboys right now is that the offense looks as good as we expected it to. Dak is putting up unreal numbers. The receivers are doing well. They got the tight end involved. They're getting down in games, so Zeke's not really involved, which is kind of part of the problem going on. They need to game scripted better to keep the defense off the field because their defense is terrible. And their team looks like the old Colts teams where Peyton Manning had to put up 35 points a game because the defense couldn't stop anybody. But Dak Prescott isn't Peyton Manning. And when it comes down to it, they had a couple comebacks, a couple weeks in a row, but you can't just not do anything until the fourth quarter every week and then score 31 and hope to win the game. So, they got to, whatever they're doing in the fourth quarter, they got to figure out how to do that for 4 quarters. If they can do that, they'll be one of the best teams in the NFL. But they're not putting it together, and I don't have any high expectations for the defense this season. But the Browns look really good, and that's kind of a product of that defense looking so bad. And so I don't know what to expect. The Browns play the Colts, and we'll do the preview here in a couple days. But the Browns are still a question mark. You got to see them do it against a good team, and they're about to play the best team or the best defense in the NFL. So I liked what the Browns showed, but they got to do it again.
Yeah, right there with you guys. The Cowboys have to fix that defense. It is god awful. You can't play like that. I mean, Dak Prescott's doing everything he can do. He had 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like, what more can you do? So it kind of reminds me of the whole situation in Atlanta with Matt Ryan just having incredible games but not being able to get the win. But the credit goes to the Browns. They had a great game. Most importantly, their rushing attack. I think they combined for like 307 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. So credit to the Browns for getting the win, and Dallas drops down. Well, I guess they're still tied for first place in their division, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well,
They're going to
good
win
for them. So,
They're going to be the first 5-11 team to win their division.
I know, right? God,
what a disaster! I saw someone call their division the NFC least the other day.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, pretty much sums it up. Okay, Hefe. Did you pick the Lions?
Yeah, the night before the game, I was sitting there. I knew Michael Thomas was out. Drew Brees had never won without Michael Thomas since Michael Thomas came. So I had to go with the Lions. And it looked good starting out, right? They got to the 14-0 lead real quick. And I was like, all right, I made the right pick. And then next thing you know, I think it was like 35-14 at one point, and they had to try to come back. They almost did, but lackluster second quarter for the Lions. They had I believe they threw an interception. Matt Stafford did there in the second quarter and 2 punts. And Drew Brees and the Saints scored 5 touchdowns in a row. So, didn't go the way I hoped.
I was going to tell you that I need to quit listening to myself, and you need to quit listening to Brian. Just kidding, Brian. Just kidding.
Well, that's what I was thinking. When they got down a bunch, I was like, as soon as I put faith in the Lions, they let me down. This must be what it feels like to be a Lions fan year after year.
Yeah, for sure. And you brought up a good point. The Lions were in somewhat of a position to win this game. So now I have to ask. I mean, are they perched to pounce? Are the Lions? Are they getting this thing turned around? Are they getting better? Are they headed towards 500?
I don't know if I go that far. Just because I don't really have a whole lot of faith in Matt Patricia and what he's doing, but like I said last week, with Kenny Galladay in the lineup in that offense, it changes the dynamic of the offense, and the more that offense can stay on the field, the less points that defense is going to be giving up. There's still some weaknesses. They got a little healthier this week, but it didn't pay a whole lot of dividends. They still gave up 5 touchdowns, but Matt Patricia's defensive coach. Maybe he can get it turned around. They seem to be in a top-heavy division, so I don't know if they'll end up with a winning record, but they might be more 7-9ish than we initially thought.
What do you think, Zach?
I don't see it happening. I like Stafford. I like Galladay. I like Marvin Jones. I think they have the talent there, but I don't think they have the coaching, and that just seems to be an organizational type thing for the Lions. So I think they have the potential, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I really don't either. And on the flip side, um, I do have to say, and I'm sure you two probably agree with me, and this isn't to be over dramatic and ring the alarm, but the Saints have proven to be more vulnerable than I expected this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Their
Yeah.
defense, started out so well against Tampa, and since then they've definitely showed some flaws.
Well, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they play once they get fully healthy again, because they're missing so many people right now. I mean,
And
they have more. Go ahead.
we're still only through game 4, and there's 4 games in preseason, and you can't discount not having a preseason. You just can't discount it.
Yeah, and they're only one game out of the division lead to Tampa.
Yeah, it's so early, and with a guy like Sean Payton and Drew Brees, as long as they can get into the playoffs, they're a contender. So
yeah,
got a long way to go.
And I will say that winning this game against Detroit was huge for them, though, because dropping down to 1-3 and that division against Tampa Bay, that would have been very difficult to come back from. So this was a huge win for them.
Completely agree. Okay, Seahawks at the Dolphins. This one personally hurts, and not just because of because I don't like the Seahawks, but and not just because the Dolphins were close. I mean, they were close enough that a couple things go their way, and they could have won this game, but they didn't. And the Seahawks came in and took care of their business. And this is what champions do. So the Dolphins are better than people give them credit for. We've talked about that extensively here. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say recently they were like yesterday, they're surprised that the Dolphins were doing so well. And I'm not at all. I mean, I've called this since last year, and you guys agree with me. We've talked about this. I'm not surprised, but I'm disappointed. They're capable, and they've shown that. But now Flores has to push this over the hump. And they got to win, man. I mean, coming close doesn't do it. It's the only thing that matters. And moral victories don't get you anywhere in this league. Moral victories will get your ass fired is what will happen. And it's time. And look, they're rebuilding. I don't know what the expectations are in the front office. And they got a hell of a draft coming up again. Thanks, Bill O'Brien. So this isn't sounding an alarm, but this is a step-by-step process, and they have to start getting half of these big games. Last night would have propelled this organization really far forward had they been beating the Seahawks. That's all I'm saying. So their schedule's full of opportunities, but it's also full of potential disasters. So look, they're going to San Francisco, then they're going to Denver. Then they have the Chargers at home, and they have the Rams at home. Then they have to go out to Phoenix. They got a 3-game stretch with the Jets back-to-back and then the Bengals. But then they finish the year with the Chiefs, Patriots, Raiders, and Bills. This is not easy for them. And they have to start winning some of these big games, or they're not going to win any of these big games. If he isn't able to push them over the hump, they may only win 5 games, and they got to do better.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I don't compared to what they were, they're leaps and bounds ahead of a year ago, 2 years ago. So it's difficult to watch because we do know how good they are and how good they can be, and they're not winning these games. But as you said, they have a very difficult schedule. So you may be correct. They may only get to 5 wins, but that'll be good for them in the draft with all these draft picks they have coming up. So
True.
Next year may be the year where those expectations significantly increase.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I expect. I think without Tua playing, at least what seems to be is going to be a majority of this season, then I don't think the expectations are going to be crazy high. I don't think whatever the record is going to be held against Brian Flores. Probably a nice understanding when he came in the building. This is a complete reconstruction kind of deal, and they're not playing bad. There's an argument that you could make if Tua played in this game, they win. Maybe he doesn't throw the 2 interceptions and instead it's 2 touchdowns and they find a way to win this game. But the Seahawks, for as bad as the Seahawks defense has been the first couple weeks, they'd also played some pretty powerhouse offenses. But when they had to make plays, they made plays without Jamal Adams in the lineup. And I like where both of these teams are going. Hopefully the Seahawks can keep improving the defense and keep getting Chris Carson involved so it's not all on Russell Wilson's arm every game. And hopefully the Dolphins can get some key pieces back and get everybody healthy again so that they can be the team that we expect them to be and come out and win these kind of games.
Yeah. And I agree with both of you. And again, I don't mean to sound the alarm. This isn't like, complaining about Gase or anything like that. This is raising expectations because I fully am into what Flores is doing and I see them getting better and I think they have the capability. So that's all that is. But still pretty good game. I enjoyed watching it. And all right, we'll move on. All right, Vikings at Texans. Man, I've never been so happy to get a pick wrong in my entire life. And that might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but not much. But you get the point. The Vikings, come alive, I guess. I don't know. Thank God after I talked them up so much during the preseason, they're finally heading the right direction. Of course, I don't know. Are they moving up or the Texans just, getting lower? The Texans are exactly what the three of us said they were in the offseason. They were mediocre at best. I think they're going to come back and win some games, but we knew that they weren't really contenders for the AFC South. We called the Colts and the Titans from the very beginning. This is certainly living up to that. I hate to dump everything on O'Brien, but Zach, it certainly appears this, like Gase, rests solely on the shoulders of the coach.
Yeah, so first just let me say that Kirk Cousins had a pretty decent game yesterday. He was 16, 22, 260 yards and touchdown. Dalvin Cook showed up, had another stellar game, 27 carries, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. But yes, Bill O'Brien is 100% to blame. We've been talking about this for months since the offseason, that he is running the Texans into the ground, and it's showing. This was a team that almost beat the Super Bowl champions last year in the playoffs. He starts shipping people out and bad trades because he wants to show them how big his balls are, and now it's not paying it off. He's ruining the roster. He's ruining the talent. Now he's 0-4. We've been saying this for months. Fire Bill O'Brien right now, today. You just lost to an 0-3 team. Your chances
After Gase.
after Gase. But your chances of making the playoffs are slim to none. They need to fire him. But I will say, as a Colts fan, I hope they keep him.
Yeah, pretty much. Just keep him in the building, keep wrecking it. I don't care. But to lose to a team that only had 4 people in this game catch passes, right? The Vikings only had Adam Thielen, he caught 8 passes. Justin Jefferson, 4 passes. Kyle Rudolph, 2 passes. Dalvin Cook, 2 passes. That was the only receivers that caught passes, and they still got lit up, got 31 points put on them. And Deshaun Watson can't do it all. You know what I mean? And just, what was it, 2-3 years ago, everybody was talking about the Texans defense. You can't mess with the Texans defense. You can't pass on them, this and that. And now they're Swiss cheese. There are holes everywhere. And if the Vikings can come in and wreck you like that, then I'm going to assume that you're going to be really competitive with the Jets. So just tune in to my power rankings on Facebook, but sneak peek, the Texans went all the way down to 29 this week.
Wow. It's probably where they belong.
Yeah, absolutely.
You didn't have them there before because we were still expecting the other shoe to drop. We thought they were better than they are. We thought they were a little, probably above 500, I think is probably our general consensus. I certainly didn't see this coming. I don't want to put it that, but they've certainly give you enough to show you that they deserve to be at the bottom. I mean, 0-4 is 0-4.
Yeah,
very true.
So, and they probably ought to be careful because I've seen some Texans fans blaming Watson. This is how quarterbacks lay down and die and wiggle out of their contract, and they go to another team like Tannehill. and do something different. So O'Brien's a problem, but I will defend any coach, Patricia, O'Brien, Quinn, even. If they get fired before Gase, I will come to their defense. I'll fly into town and go meet with their owners and come to their defense because that's bullshit. Gase has got to go. I told you I'd say it again.
True.
Okay, Chargers at Buccaneers. So this game was the largest age gap between starting quarterbacks in history. True story. Brady's what, 42?
Yeah, 42, 43, something like that.
Yeah, and Herbert, 22. Largest age gap between starting quarterbacks in NFL history. I just thought that was pretty remarkable. So
yeah, that's real cool.
Yeah. It was really cool to watch because you're watching arguably one of the quarterbacks that belongs in the GOAT conversation of all time. And then I'm really excited about this kid, which I'm getting ready to talk about in a second. So it was kind of that passing of the guard bullshit that, we get all hyped up about. I heard the Bucs up until yesterday had the most points in the first quarter. I didn't get a chance to verify that. I thought that was a pretty cool stat. So the first drive with the Bucs just looked too easy. Brady was patient, short dump routes, set up a beautiful big pickup to Mike Evans. It was just too easy, and so I thought it was just going to go that way, and it sure didn't. It ended up being a really good game. Brady hit yesterday. He hit his 81st different receiver for a touchdown in his career. Thought that was also remarkable. Brady's at that point in his career where you can rip off like 4 new records that he's broken every time he throws the ball. But Brady also yesterday threw his 4th pick 6 in the last 6 games, so we need to keep an eye on that. That's a sign of an aging quarterback. I hate to say it. But strong win at home for the Bucs, who moved to 3-1. But the story here needs to be Herbert. Sorry, that's my Sesame Street. Ernie. Herbert. Big shout out to my old friend Don Cassesi. Did the best Ernie impression I've ever heard in my entire life. His timing was always incredible. He'd almost make you piss your pants laughing when he popped it off. But anyway, but I'm gonna start calling this guy Hair Bear. The whole flowing locks thing. All right, so look, the Chargers now have only 12 of their original starters playing. They have 10 starters out. If someone needs me to do the math for them, that's almost half. And they're 2-2 with a 22-year-old backup quarterback, one of those players that stepped into one of those injuries. Their 2 losses were against 2 of arguably the best teams in the league, the Chiefs and the Bucs. And they took both of them to the brink.
They've lost 3. They lost to Carolina last week.
Oh, so my point is these, and we're going to talk about Carolina here in a second too. Carolina has my attention, but my point is that I didn't expect much out of the Chargers, and as of right now, the Chargers have my attention.
Yeah, absolutely. Justin Herbert's playing like a stud right now. He's 20 for 25, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns, interception. Unfortunately for him, he's going against one of the all-time greats, and Brady threw for 5 touchdowns and 369 yards. So I'd like to see the Chargers be better than their 1-3 record. I think they are better than that with Justin Herbert playing quarterback, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah, and like Brad was saying, they're going to have to get healthy. Melvin Ingram's on the IR. Derwin James, you're not getting him back. So they got to figure some stuff out. They got to get some guys back. But they look good for what they have. Most of this game, they were up. Like Tom Brady had to throw the ball all day long. That's why he had so many yards and so many touchdowns. But at the end of the day, Tom Brady did his thing. He used Mike Evans, and Mike Evans left this game early, and that was part of the reason they got down. After Mike Evans went out for a couple drives, the Chargers were getting the ball back quick and were able to get going, and the Buccaneers weren't. But Mike Evans battled through the injury. He came back, had a huge day. Tom Brady threw touchdowns to 5 different receivers in this one. So overall, it was a really entertaining game. I didn't watch the whole thing. I peeked in here and there to see what was going on. But I think both these teams have a lot of upside. The Chargers just got to get people back. If they get healthy, they're going to be a problem. They might not win their division because they play in the same division as the Chiefs, but they should be a playoff team if they get everybody healthy.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. Okay, Ravens at the Washington football team. There's not a whole lot to say here, other than the Ravens so far aren't really the team that we expected them to be. They're struggling a little bit offensively, relying way too much on Jackson's ability to run. That should be secondary or tertiary, not the primary weapon. And I don't think it is. I mean, I obviously Jim Harbaugh knows way more about this than I do. I don't mean that at all. But the flip side of this, they have nowhere to go but up, and it probably means there's no doubt they're going to work these kinks out, and it probably means that they're actually going to peak in the second half of the season and be better than they are right now, which is really scary and really dangerous, and puts them right into that category that we put them potential Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, I agree with you. Don't really have much else to say. I mean, Lamar Jackson has to do it all right now. He's 14-21, 193 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7 carries, 53 yards, and a score on the ground. So playmakers need to step up for the Ravens. They need to get it rolling. I had the Ravens winning this. I had them covering the spread, but I thought they would at least won by 21. They only won by 14. But side note, Washington is still first place in their division.
No, Eagles are 1-2-1.
Oh, you're right.
Christ, I don't even know what's going on anymore.
At least I had the Eagles winning the division.
See, can we change the rules, and can we be like, if you're not 500, you can't be in the playoffs?
That's the way it should.
Yeah, we have the traditional playoff format, but if you're not 500, somebody who's 500 in another division gets to go. Only be fair.
Yeah.
What a disaster over there.
Didn't that happen a few years ago where a 7-9 team went to the playoffs?
Yeah, it happens every once in a while. It really screws the rules up, but it is what it is.
I don't think the Ravens. There are two things that I think they're doing that are messing them up, and it's either they're being too cute with all their weapons because they have so many. They just drafted J.K. Dobbins to add to the running game. They didn't get rid of anybody; they just added somebody. So are they trying to do too much with what they have, or is Marshall Yonda? Marshall Yonda is arguably the best guard to ever play football. Is missing him retiring? Is that affecting the way everything works? Was he that big of a piece that without him, this whole scheme doesn't really work the same? Whoever's filling that spot, like you said, as the year goes on, he'll figure out what to do in that spot, and the guys around him will help mold him into that spot. He's not going to be Marshall Yonda, but they should get better. So I think the Ravens going forward are going to keep looking better. They need a couple more of these games against bad teams, kind of beat up on them, get kind of a preseason game type of feel to them, and get them on the right track. But in the meantime, they're going to have to figure it out when they play playoff type teams too. But overall, I think the Ravens will be fine, and Washington is who we expected them to be. But the good news is that Ron Rivera only has 3 weeks left on his cancer treatments.
Yeah, that's good. And the other good news is that after those 3 weeks, he has enough room in this division to win the division.
Yeah.
And that sounds like a joke, but that's a fact.
Yeah, if they can somehow rattle off 6 of the last 10, they could easily win this division.
Yeah, easily. So, okay, Giants at the Rams. Look, man, I expected a blowout. I said it a second ago. I don't really know what's going on anymore. Goff had a lackluster day. They're touting that the Rams defense won the game. I suppose at some level that's true, but look, if I beat up a 12-year-old trying to break into my house, I'm not really a hero now, am I? Right? So the Rams got to be better. They got to get it together.
Yeah, I agree. They didn't look very impressive, especially being a top 10 team that we have them ranked as. So it's kind of disappointing to see that, but a win's a win, and they're moving on.
Yeah, I didn't know what to make of this one. This was one that I had up, and I probably watched, half of this game or so. And I couldn't tell if it was just, a bad day at the office for the Rams, or could they not get it going, or does Joe Judge have these guys playing a little better, or they didn't have a preseason, new coaches, a bunch of new guys coming in the building. Are they just getting better as the year goes on? And James Bradbury, a guy that they brought in from Carolina on that defense, he's coming into this weekend was one of the top 10 PFF ranked corners in the league. So there's some optimism there, but this offense has been terrible in every game, and it's going to keep hurting them. I believe in Daniel Jones. I believe in the weapons they have. But they can't stay healthy. That's a big part of it. A lot of those guys can't stay healthy. Golden Tate's not who he used to be. But the offensive line is bad, and let's face it, Jason Garrett couldn't get the job done in Dallas, and Jason Garrett is one of the worst play callers, if not the worst. He's got to put up with Adam Gase for that honor. But Jason Garrett's just not getting it done on offense. There are way too many weapons on this Giants offense for them to actually be this bad.
Agreed. So, who wins the game first, the Giants or the Jets?
Giants.
Yeah, I think the Giants too. Okay. All right. Next up, Bills at the Raiders. The Bills are 4-0. No small feat. They're undefeated. They're undefeated, and they've actually played all their games. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Let's just pause for a second. Everybody catch up to that one and get who we're talking about. Trash talking fans about how they're still undefeated. Well, you didn't play because you. Never mind. All right. So Buffalo is averaging a league third best of 30.75 points per game. Hefe, I want to say here that this loss was a tough one for the Raiders. They're 2-2, right? But this surprised me a little bit. They may be one of the best teams sitting at 2-2 in the league. Your boy was pretty good yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. They didn't look bad in the passing game. Even without Henry Ruggs in this game, I thought that they weren't going to be able to get it going on offense because they couldn't stretch the field without him. But Derek Carr looked good. He had to throw the ball 44 times because they got down a little early in this game. But he still had 311 and 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. And the issue again this week was the fact that they couldn't get Josh Jacobs going. And I don't know why that is. He averaged just over 3 yards a carry at 15 carries, 48 yards, no touchdowns. They're going to have to figure that out. I know Richie Incognito's been a little banged up. So hopefully they can get him back and get him playing well again. But they're going to have to figure that out. Right now, the issue, for all the hating everybody wants to do on Derek Carr all the time, little crybaby on the sideline. Right now, he's playing at the same level he was a couple years ago when he was getting the Raiders to win. And the defense, all the young pieces that they got in place last year and this year, they're starting to play better. They're not a great defensive unit by any stretch, but there are flashes where you're like, yeah, these guys can be game changers. And if they keep rolling that together and they keep putting things together, then during the last half of the season, they could be a threat. We think the Chargers are going to be a threat. That those wild card seeds, I think the Raiders are going to be there and the Chargers are going to be there, and neither one of them can win the division again because the Chiefs are there. But I think one of those teams, maybe both of those teams, because there's an extra team in the playoff this year. I think maybe both of those teams get in.
Yeah, absolutely. And Derek Carr actually had a better game than Josh Allen, which Josh Allen still had a solid game. He finished 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, which keeps him up there in the MVP race. But yeah, Derek Carr did have a good game. I actually nailed this one. I had Buffalo winning by a touchdown. They won 30-23, so no surprise there for me. But yeah, Vegas is 2-2 on the year, and Buffalo's 4-0.
Yeah, and again, 4-0. I mean, the Bills are good, and this is a kind of loss. The Raiders have a lot. If there is a moral victory, I know I just said there isn't moral victories, but this is one to certainly build on here with the Raiders. Um, and just a note, Josh Allen was hurt early in the game, and he played through that. It's my understanding he has a sore shoulder, so keep that in mind as you're discussing what he was able to do yesterday. Also, Carr has yet to throw an interception this season, and he also surpassed Kenny the Snake Stabler and set a franchise record with 151 career touchdown passes yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You did that really fast.
Yeah, pretty good company too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Colts at the Bears. So I got a little bit of trivia that I picked up. The Colts converted 14 fourth downs last year. They were second in the NFL. I did not know that. That's pretty impressive. So let's go to yesterday. Rivers, no interceptions again. I have a friend who told me in week 1 that Rivers would lead the league in interceptions, which is, one of those predictions that sounds like you're being kind of bold, but you just watch the guy throw 3 of them, and you probably think you got your finger on the pulse a little better than you do. He said he would lead the league in interceptions by the end of the year, and I told him, that I disagreed, and I sent him a graphic. I texted him a graphic yesterday from the game. At the top, it said "Old Man Rivers." I don't know if you guys saw it. You'll listed him as the fourth oldest quarterback in the league, first in completion percentage at 78.3%, fifth in yards per attempt at 8.6, and tied for sixth with 725 plus yard completions. He ghosted me. Didn't even respond.
Of course he did. Of course.
I think that's called shut the up. Never mind. And that's what all the Rivers haters are doing now, and they should be. STFU, sit down. Nobody wants to hear your nonsense. The guy is a perfect fit for the system, and he's getting better every week. And it's everything we said, that he'd click into the system. He knows the system. He knows what his responsibility is. He knows what he's capable of. And then he was old Rivers and talked trash the whole game. So at one point, they even got him on camera screaming across the sideline, talking trash, which is the reason I hated him in when he was with the Chargers, and I love him now. So with that said, the Bears defense proved challenging, and the Colts overcame. It wasn't an easy win, and it actually gave me more respect for the Bears after that game yesterday. I thought, I didn't know who was the worst 3-0 team, them or the Titans. We still don't know because the Titans didn't play, but the Bears defense looked tough yesterday, and so I have more respect for them. Even though I still don't think they have enough for Green Bay in the end. And in the end, the Colts are still getting better.
Yeah, Rivers looked pretty good. He did his job. I keep saying this every week because everybody wants Rivers to be an MVP type caliber quarterback, and he's not. He's a systematic quarterback. He's here to be in Reich's system, which he was in San Diego, and he did his job. He protected the ball. He made the occasional play. He managed the clock. The Colts had 5 more minutes of possession time than the Bears, so he did what he had to do. Now the defense, they look good again. Only gave up 28 rushing yards. They gave up 241 passing yards, but that's to be expected. They also had an interception. They held the Bears to only 3 points until the final minute and a half in the fourth quarter when they were playing prevent. So our defense looked great. I'm excited. Still going to keep balling out, although we did have a few nicks, bumps, and bruises to watch over the next week. But yeah, we look good. I don't think the Bears are as good as their 3-1 record indicates, but the Colts still dominated, still beat a 3-0 team, and they're 3-1 on the season, and we're looking to do great things going forward.
Yeah, I mean, this Colts defense, I played defensive end and linebackers, so I'm just a person that likes defense, and to see the Colts go from what used to be for 20 years an offense dominated team to now the defense is dominating people, it's great to see. And before the Colts went to prevent defense, Nick Foles only had 170 passing yards, and they gave up just over 200 yards before that last Bears drive. So, really, that's what I'm counting. That extra 80 yards was a here you can have this, so we can get the ball back and get out of here real quick. The defense is playing great, but so is the Bears. So I don't want to get too down on the Colts offense. In terms of third down, they were way better on third down against a tough defense than they had been. They came into this game worse than the NFL, 30% on third down, and they were able to convert. I believe it was 10 out of 20 or 11 out of 20, something like that, third downs in this game. And so that's good enough efficiency against a really good defense. I expected there to be a lot of field goals in this game, and luckily the Colts were the one kicking them. And the Bears, like you said, the Bears aren't as bad as I thought. They definitely showed signs. Whoever number 11 is, Mooney, whoever that is for their team, he looks like he's going to be good for them. So the Bears look good going forward, but the Colts, I think, are showing that they deserve to be in that contender talk that everybody had them in the preseason.
Yeah, and I want to say, I want to come on the tail end of this and say that the Bears made. I don't want to overemphasize this, but they made me somewhat of a believer yesterday. They certainly may have an opportunity to be in the playoffs. I don't know that they're a deep contender. We have a top tier teams and probably our second tier teams where the Colts fall in and potentially move into the top tier. I think the Bears are probably that get in the playoffs and lose in the first round, or maybe win the first round, lose the second round. And I just don't think they have enough for Green Bay. But I do think the Bears, they deserve some credit. Their defense is the real deal, and the defense will win you some games. So I just want to throw that in there. And the Colts defense is ranked first in the league, right? Aren't they number one overall defense?
Oh, yeah.
And quite a few stats, yeah.
Yep, good. So we just wanted to make sure that all the Texans and Titans fans heard that before we sign off out of here. All right, so Cardinals at Panthers. So the Panthers had 444 yards of total offense. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. They converted on 7 of 11 third downs. That can't happen. It just can't happen. So, again, no one expected this. We thought the Panthers would be down. We thought the Cardinals are better than they're struggling. Is the Cardinals defense this bad, or is Teddy Bridgewater going to be the Cinderella story and resurrect this team into having a winning record?
Well, the way they looked yesterday against Cardinals is, and to answer that question, I think it's a little bit of both. I think the Cardinals, they have some game changers. They have Pat Pete. He's getting a little older though, but he's still an elite corner. I would say Chandler Jones, probably the most underrated defensive player in the entire league. But Budda Baker's out for them, and he's going to be out for the year. So that's just going to hurt him all year. That makes them a little more leaky than they were at the first couple games automatically. But I do think that the way the Panthers have looked the last 2 weeks is the way I expected them to. They brought in Robbie Anderson, and I expected them to use him to open things up. And they're using him more than I thought. Now that they, even without Christian McCaffrey, maybe not having Christian McCaffrey is changing teams' game plans coming into games with them, and they don't really know what to expect. But I think they've done it really well. The defense has definitely stepped up the last couple of weeks. They're getting more pass rush, and the corners are playing a little bit better. They're still letting up here and there kind of things, but the defense has stepped up, and the offense has looked really good, and I think that's going to continue going forward. But Kyler, I watched this entire game because this was the 1 o'clock slot. The Colts played at 4 o'clock, so I watched this entire game, and Kyler was just making mental mistakes. He had one running play in this game. It was like 46 yards that helped him get back into this game and help the score be a little more respectable. But the scoreboard doesn't tell the story of this game. They were never really in it. They didn't play well enough to stay in it. They weren't doing enough on offense all day. They're going to have to figure something out more than dink and dunk all day. They were covering D-Hop. And apparently when you take away D-Hop, you can't do anything else. So The Cardinals are going to have to figure it out going forward. They've definitely looked weaker over the last 2 weeks, but the Carolina Panthers are the complete opposite. They've looked like they could be a powerhouse going forward.
Yeah, and just kind of touch on the game. I was wrong about it. I had Arizona winning. I'll sign my L on that. Credit to Carolina on a great game plan. They had back-to-back upset wins. Their confidence is sky high right now, so good for them. They had, like you said, they had almost 200 more offensive yards than Arizona, and they had 14 minutes more time of possession than the Cardinals. So it's just an overall solid performance, and they're looking impressive.
Yeah, and speaking of, I picked this game wrong too. But speaking of signing L's, I would like to. I mean, I am the kind of guy. I am more than man enough to admit I'm wrong. And we poked a little bit of fun at Matt Rule at the beginning in the off season. That he didn't have the experience and what have you. And it's still early. I'm not willing to put this guy in the elite coach category, but I'm impressed with what's happened in the last 2 weeks. So let's see what they can do from here on out.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see. I've told you guys before, I live with the Panthers fans, so I'm a de facto Panthers fan. So let's go.
All right, last game, Eagles at 49ers. I have one question about this game. What in the actual? Are you kidding me? This is another 2020 game. I don't. It doesn't make any sense. How did the 49ers go all the way to New York and do what they did, and the Eagles look so bad? I mean, I know the 49ers are banged up, but I mean, the Eagles have been a disaster. I don't know. So I guess my question is, Zach, was this luck or is this the turnaround point for the Eagles?
I think it's a little bit of both. Obviously, they've had their own injuries that they've had to deal with, and it's not nearly as bad as the caliber of players that were missing for the Niners, which obviously played a huge part in the outcome of this game, in my opinion. So they were lucky in that sense. Is this a turning point for the Eagles? Getting a win may help their confidence and kickstart a higher level of performance, but ultimately, I just don't see it happening. Their entire division is just completely awful. So they may squeak it out, like Jeff said earlier, that they're leading the division right now. So they may squeak it out, but I don't see them doing anything in the playoffs.
I don't think this is a turning point for the Eagles. They still didn't really look good, and they're still banged up. Kind of felt like week one Colts Jags, where everybody thought the Colts should win that game, but nobody had tape on anybody that was playing for the Jags. Well, nobody has tape on who's playing for the Eagles. I mean, they had receivers in this game that nobody's ever heard of other than Greg Ward, who was a quarterback 2-3 years ago in college. So you didn't really know what you were getting with the Eagles, and really the Eagles lost this game. Nick Mullins threw an interception. The interception he threw, the second one he threw, I mean, you would have thought that dude was supposed to have a 49ers jersey on running route for him. He threw it right at the guy, easy pick six, and threw the game away. They never got the lead back after that. And after they put Beathard in, they look good again. So maybe they roll with him. Maybe Jimmy comes back this week. Who knows? I don't know why C.J. Beathard wasn't playing anyways. The way he looked in that offense, but George Kittle looked like a monster. Deebo Samuel just came back for the Niners. So as they get him back in game rhythm after his injury, then I think there's nothing to worry about. I think this is, again, like the Colts Jags week one, just kind of a fluky kind of deal. As the 49ers continue to get healthier week after week, I think we're going to see them get better week after week.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think there's any reason to panic. All right. So there are 2 games remaining. We'll cover those in the week 5 preview. Those games are tonight. Pretty significantly, one is the rescheduled Patriots and the Chiefs, and the other one is Dan Quinn's last game as a coach of the Falcons against the Packers. No, not really. Well, maybe not really. So anyway, okay. So we want to ask you. We appreciate you joining us and listening to what we have to say. We'd love to hear from you. We'd like to ask you to help us reach 1,000 YouTube subscribers. And if you do that, you have a chance of winning an authentic NFL jersey from the NFL shop on us. If you're watching this, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you never miss an episode or miss your chance for the jersey giveaway. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, head on over to YouTube and help us out. We appreciate the support. It's not too late to go ahead and join in our weekly pick'em battle on ESPN. Pick'em, so Pigskin Pick'em. Hop on your favorite on our Facebook or our Twitter page. Find us at Horsemen Sports, where you can find the link to join for free for the Pigskin Pick'em League and win a prize. Maybe get on air with us and represent your team. For all the fantasy fanatics out there, Zach and Hefe will again be giving you the advantage in your league with the latest episode of Fantasy Central, dropping tonight, where they will cover the top Week 5 waiver wire picks, must-starts, and players to avoid for this coming week. And, of course, we will see you back here again on Tuesday for the Week 5 picks and preview show. We'll see you then. Thanks.